the position in terms of security, and that is why, let me first extend my felicitation to you, the host, and my co-panelists here, and your viewers. The tester is right, and that is why when the Ashanti Regional RECSEC, Regional Security Committee, sought to do their different arrangements other than what the National Security Task Force under the leadership of the IGP had done, we all took offense to it because they had no such mandate whatsoever as far as elections are concerned to begin to design their own different security arrangements other than what the National Security Task Force has done for all of us to abide by. But Samson, it is not true that the NDC agreed to relocation of collations from Eastern region or any other region to the Tesano police depot, because we knew that would not be lawful. At best, we had agreed to some level of collations being done within a region outside of the constituency, where practically it's not possible to do the collation within that very constituency, and to a particular location that is one of the gazetted locations for the performance of such a responsibility. It explains why polling stations and collation centers are gazetted. So they are known locations even before the date set for elections. And the CI 127, which takes its authority from Constitutional Provision Article 51, which mandates the Electoral Commission to prepare such regulations and other rules which are laid before Parliament, and once they mature, become applicable for elections and referenda, comes in. Nowhere do we have anything like a collation outside of a constituency or outside of the region. We've practiced a situation where when it becomes difficult to have collation in the constituency, that collation get done at the regional office. And this did not happen only in this election. It also happened in the 2020 elections, though we were offended by it. In Zabzugu, for example, the collation was not done within the constituency, and the declaration was not so done. We were so offended by it, but we went to court, we challenged the processes, and the court, it didn't end in our favor. But for this situation, Samson, if you go to a polling station, and at the end of the polls, the ballot box gets open and the papers are sorted and counted, a counting agent or a party agent, as we sometimes will call it, have a right to request for what? A recount. And have another right to ask for a second recount, which the presiding officer may oblige or decline. But if he so declined, he must report this occurrence to the returning officer at the collation center. And the returning officer, by law, is obliged to have that second recount done.
You have literally read out the law.
Yeah. So this, but you don't also recount at the collation center if a request was not previously made at a polling station.
Before the declaration.
Before the declaration. If the request was not made by the counting agent or the party agent at a polling station, no matter the noise levels, a returning officer cannot open the ballot box and conduct a recount if there is no prior request at the polling station to the presiding officer. In the same vein, the law is so clear about declaration of results. And that duty is given to the returning officers. We have 2 returning officers in our elections. And because we have joined our elections since 1996, in 1992, we had presidential elections in November and had parliamentary elections in December. Subsequently, we've held the elections, these 2 elections together. We have 2 returning officers. The chairperson of the Electoral Commission is declared as the returning officer for presidential elections. And for every constituency, a returning officer is appointed for that constituency.
That's correct.
And he or she has the sole responsibility of declaring the parliamentary results. So one is therefore surprised that results that have been collated and declared now are being recollated. That is our concern. Results collated and declared by the returning officer now gets recollated. Under whose order we do not know now. Because the same Electoral Commission, like you pointed out, in 2020, in the case of Techimansaf, we petitioned the Electoral Commission at the headquarters. And they actually responded to our petition in writing. And in that response, they made it very, very clear that once the results are declared, that it's a right to ask for recollation before declaration. But once the results are declared, the only platform left for you is the court. It is only in the court that you can prove whether you did the declaration under duress or you did the declaration with half polling stations or quarter polling stations or three-quarter polling stations, or you ignored some figures, or you change figures that are meant for candidate A for candidate B. The only platform left by law is the court.
So the reference you make to what the Electoral Commission said when you requested for a recollation in 2020, in that reply, paragraph 12, the Electoral Commission said, pursuant to CI 127, the same one we are using now, because that is when it was passed, all results from the 266 polling stations in the Techiman South constituency were received, collated, and results declared. The Form 1C was used to collate the results of the parliamentary election by the returning officer. The collated results were then transferred onto the Form 1D as mandated by law. The law requires that signed copies of the forms are given to the agents of the candidates at the collation center if they are present. Now, paragraph 13. Recollation can be done at all levels when requested before the declaration of the results. However, once election results have been declared, a dissatisfied party cannot request for a recollation or recount of the results. And then pointed the NDC then that the law, as it says in the representation of the people law, is that you go to court.
So the EC knows what to do when results have been declared, whether under duress or half collation or change of figures from candidate A figures given to candidate B given to candidate C, whatever
or in
situation,
the absence of candidates agents or representatives,
or what have you. All that can only happen at the court, and it is only the court that can give orders. Even where ballots get rejected because either the mark was not so clear, and it is referred to the returning officer, who may also make a further decision on the rejected ballot, if you are dissatisfied, it is not for the EC at the regional or headquarters level to further examine these rejected ballots. It is only in the court that the court can order a further re-examination of those ballots that were so rejected. If you feel that a rejected ballot should have gone in favor of candidate A or candidate B. So one is surprised that the Electoral Commission will be behaving in the manner that they are behaving. I am not so worried about recollating constituencies that have not been declared. I'm not worried about that because a declaration have not been done.
That's right.
Like the Nsawam Adwejiri, no declaration have happened. So if you are seeking to do a recollation, do it at the rightful place and under rightful environment. I'm not so worried about that. But in situations, for example, like Obuasi East, where a declaration have happened, and not just an agent, the candidate himself, who is a sitting member of parliament, has endorsed the results declaration sheet. Now you have EC says that declaration, which was signed by the MPP candidate, who is a sitting member of parliament, was done under duress, and so it should be recollated. Where
else? There's been reference to Tema Ibi Bright.
Tema Central also.
Right.
And the kind of reasons that I heard my very good friend Tete give, that according to him,
Samuel Tete of the
EC, that the officer who did the declaration was Tema West returning officer.
And not Tema
and not Tema Central.
Central, right.
But the same EC decides to accept Damango, which declaration was done not by even a returning officer that has taken oath, but the regional electoral officer. They are comfortable with that. This one, Tema Central, according to them, was done by Tema West returning officer. That is a returning officer that have taken the oath to perform those functions. Albeit that maybe he took the oath for Tema to perform in Tema West and not Tema Central. The EC have problem with that. But the EC didn't have problem with the regional director of EC for Savannah declaring results in Damango, because they did not find space to list that one.
So these are the things the EC by its releases continues to say, that the law has not been followed in the declarations. That's why they need to redo them to follow the law. And you say, once the declaration has happened, it's a closed book. It is only a court that can question it.
Exactly. And especially if you take Fantia Kwanoff, it was done by the returning officer. And in the presence of candidate agents, and the so-called deputy returning officer was present. Then now you move the deputy returning officer, so described, not to another location in the region or in the constituency, but to another region to come and collect results in the absence of the political party whose candidate has been declared the winner in Fantia Kwanoff, in Begro, within the constituency where the election took place, by the officer who by law is mandated to make such declaration. Now you bring a deputy who is not mandated to collect results outside of the constituency and outside of the region, in the absence of the NDC and its agent. Then you declare the one who have not been declared the winner within the constituency by the returning officer as the one who has won the election. And the EC says that is lawful.
You talk about doing it in the absence of the candidates, agents, and so on. And you find Samuel Tete also complaining about some of these things happening in the absence of the candidates, agents, and reps. But in fact, the law requires that candidates, agents, and reps cannot hold us to ransom.
That's true.
It used to be the case previously. So now what the new law has done is, if you're a candidate, agent, or rep, and you are required, your presence is required, and you decline, you refuse to give it, the law says it does not invalidate what has been done. In fact, the law in the Constitution requires presiding officers, or who are they, to sign pink sheets. In the 2012 elections, we had issues with that. One of the heads of the claims that the MPP raised in the court was pink sheets without presiding officer signature. Upon that, we made a law and said we will not punish the voter who voted and the presiding officer decided not to sign. We will rather punish the presiding officer for that. Kofi, what do you say
before he comes, before he comes, in a situation where agents or candidates are not to hold all of us to ransom, it is when that event is happening at the gazetted location. Not where you have moved the collation from the constituency outside of the region where the constituency is found to another region in a location that has not been gazetted and agreed upon by the parties for any such activity to take place there.
Kofi, we agree on that. The law is on your side on that. See, the lessons from the election petition, which is what you are now citing, is why we've made progress in that area, and it makes sense. The point, however, is that a lot of times the problem is with the EC's operations and the decisions made by its officers. I have a agenda. It's in the form of a question because of the issues. Election operations, as far as my information is that election operations are different from security operations, even in an election. And the police and co are in charge of the security operations, but the EC is in charge of election operations. The Collation Center gazetted, and where counting and co will be done is not part of what the police determine. It is part of what the EC determines, and then the security people support them. So the gentleman who responded, let's make this point clear. Now, when you tie that to this, and we tie that to the Damongo situation and co that Kofi is talking about right now, Samson, do we all see that there is something amiss about the EC's operations and the decisions its officers make regarding EC operations at polling stations, police, etc.? I don't know why.
What's wrong with EC's operations? At the polling station, the results, the ballots are counted, sorted, counted in the full glare of everybody. And then the forms are signed. The numbers are entered.
That's the proper process.
That's the pink sheet you are taking to the collation center, correct?
Kofi is saying something.
What has the EC done wrong?
Kofi is saying something. He says in Damongo, some other officer comes and makes a declaration.
The regional director of elections.
That's an EC problem. Then in Ebi Bright's case, another person makes a declaration.
West to central.
From one constituency.
Direct EC operations. Now, EC makes a decision in one that is at variance with the decision it makes in another. You just talk about the decision they made about go to court in another situation.
When we talk about the police in charge of security, we are talking about where they have been overwhelmed. And we all saw it.
Where the police has been overwhelmed?
Yes, they have been completely overwhelmed. In Ablekuma West, for example, it became chaotic. And you saw a handful of police officers. I appreciate the fact that because the good thing that was done was that they should not use arms. Because they did not use arms, some people tried to, tempt them.
I was following that. They recovered quite quickly.
Yes, but the point is that even the military, who were not, as we understood, from the police and from the military itself, that were not going to be deployed at polling stations. During the day of the election, we saw them at polling stations. Where were they in the night when these party supporters were besieging these collation centers?
I hear you. I was following it. I think you were on air also. Now, when the melee happened and the police seemed to be having overwhelmed, they recovered quite quickly and reinforcements were sent. All right? And that was...
As at yesterday, the EC's complaint, as at yesterday, the EC's complaint for the problems is party supporters taking over constituency collation centers and disabling them from working, as at yesterday.
We're talking about the Damsoban I think, situation. And
No, generally, that's what their press statement said.
You see, we're all following generally. My view of it was that some decisions were made by the EC which exacerbated the security situation. That is my view. And I come from the position that if those decisions were not made, the security situation would not have deteriorated. For instance, moving things to Tesano. And I'm making the point, as we are all making here. In fact, there's something we are all agreeing on, that there is something amiss about the way the EC conducts itself. Earlier you said they made a decision here and then later they changed their mind. He just said that one go here, they changed their mind. And I'm also making the point that they are not in line with the law when it comes to this. These decisions create security problems. All right? And I'm saying that we've come 30-something years. The EC has been very resistant to anybody trying to make suggestions to them about how you do things.
The EC has rather been listening. No, when they say we are going to give accredit to only this number of media persons and we speak, they increase it.
I work in an institution
when they say
fight with the EC for...
They have opened up their collation centers. All of this.
They do a lot of things.
Right.
I'm saying I work in an institution where we've had a fight with the EC over its operations and technology for almost 10 years. The records are there. In this election, they procured fax machines. Fax machines. Go and read the things we've said.
Okay.
So I'm telling you, a lot. If those decisions are not made, you will not have a deterioration of the.
I have guests joining us virtually. So how many are the outstanding issues that?
9. Well, the EC listed 9. We disagree completely with them because we know Obuasi East have been
already declared. If anybody has an issue, they should go to court.
Has an issue, it is the
one
that you have.
Let's go on.
To.
2.
We think that Fantiakwa North, that they claim, the EC headquarters claim that they are accepting the Tesano declaration. We disagree with them completely.
So most likely on the day of inauguration of Parliament, we are going to see two MPs for Fantiakwa in the House.
The chairperson of EC must let the law works.
But they are finished. They have done it, and they say.
And I'm saying that no,
they have overturned the first declaration.
You cannot. How do you? On what basis? Because the law does not give you the EC mandate to overturn a declaration by a returning officer. The law doesn't give the EC that mandate. It is only the court, through an election petition, that can overturn a declaration by a returning.
The EC will do gazetting.
So the EC,
and the gazetting they will do is what they have declared in favor of the MPP
That's
candidate.
what I'm saying. So that will be wrong. And if the EC do that, they are further creating a platform.
Will you ask your candidate who was earlier declared to come to Parliament?
Of course, he has to come to Parliament because a writ has been signed from him. A writ has been signed. So the EC is only mandated to forward that writ.
That's number 2.
Lawfully done.
That's number 2. You said you don't agree to 9. So those are 2.
So that we don't agree. Tema Central have also already been declared.
So that reduces the number to
Ablekuma North that they listed
4.
have already been declared.
Okay, reduces it to 3.
All these declared ones, there are no contentions whatsoever.
Okay.
We can do the...
So as far as you're concerned, what's outstanding is 3.
On the 20th, we'll go to court, and then whatever the court says, we'll look at in Sawa Madridri. Because of what they were doing at Tesano, we went to court and we've injuncted that process.
Right.
The court hearing will be on the 20th.
So as far as you are concerned, in Sawa Madridri,
I think Tepa, Alfano North, has also not been...
That's also outstanding.
And I think Alfano Southwest is 3.
So 2 outstanding, 3 outstanding as far as you are concerned. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.